So, white supremacy. Is America suffering a white supremacy problem, right? This is the narrative the press is determined to put forward, and they're furious at Donald Trump that he will not play into this idea that we are a country beset by white supremacy everywhere. And whenever he won't play along, whenever he says, yes, you know, there are bad people in the Antifa movement and bad people in the white supremacy movement, but there are also good people who are arguing about a park, and they twist that to make it sound like he says there are good white supremacists, which he never did and probably never would because he doesn't believe that. They are pushing this narrative because it's good for them. And their idea, obviously, is this evil president, this president that they didn't want elected. Oh, my goodness, he is the chief white supremacist. You know, he just flew back from New Zealand where he shot up all those Muslims, and he got, you know, put on his white supremacist hood, and he's sitting in the White House eliminating unemployment for black people for some reason that doesn't really make any sense. Listen to this amazing clip from MSNBC. This is Chris Matthews asking Cory Booker, a Democrat presidential candidate, asking the really tough questions.
Meanwhile, as the Democratic base pushes issues of racial and gender equality, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker asked tough questions about President Trump by MSNBC's Chris Matthews.
Is he racist?
He's a guy that...
Is he a racist?
Racist thinks he's racist. And his language hurts people. His language is causing pain, fear. The way he's talking is making people afraid.
Wow, that's really asking a candidate the tough questions. Is your opponent racist? Is he? Come on, come out with it, Cory. That's pounding him, Chris. That's really good journalism. Here is Greg Meeks with the basic narrative that we're all supposed to believe, and if we don't believe it, we are participating in the MAGA racism of Donald Trump.
The president is supposed to be, and he is, the most powerful person in the world. And therefore, he has the biggest megaphone in the world, and he uses it for other reasons. But on this, and anytime we're talking about white supremacy or white nationalism, he chooses not to use it. And the language that he uses continually. I mean, even when he talked about the horrific incident that took place in New Zealand, he came back and was talking about invaders, which is the same kind of language that you see white nationalists and white supremacists use on a consistent basis. And then you add that on the kind of rhetoric and things that the president has said, whether it's during the campaign or even before the campaign started, you know, whether it was about Barack Obama and his status, those were languages or words, code words that leads and builds one upon the other. You know, you generally would say, he just made a statement. But you see, it keeps building, and it happens on a consistent basis.
So just remember, this is a narrative. It's a narrative that they're building, and when you step outside the narrative, it's not like you're disagreeing with the narrative. You're saying, oh, this narrative is wrong. It's that you are a racist because you're not participating in the narrative. When they asked Trump if there's a problem with rising white supremacy, he said, no, there's a small group of people with a very, very big problem. That's what he said, but that's not the narrative. So when you do that, you become a white supremacist because we all know that there's rising white supremacy. Heather McDonald, best reporter in the country, if not the best, certainly on that top shelf of best reporters from the Manhattan Institute. She was asked, Martha McCallum had her on, and asked her about the numbers. Now, this is the second Heather clip. It's number 10. And she asked her, you know, are there rising hate crimes in America?
The number of reported hate crimes, and we don't know how many of those are Jussie Smollett hoaxes, last year was identical to what it was 10 years ago when there were 25 million fewer people in the United States and many fewer reporting agencies. And if you go 10 years before that, you have 3,000 more hate crimes, reported hate crimes. So the idea that there's been some surge in hate, much less white supremacist hate, is completely ridiculous.
Excellent. She's such a good reporter. She gets the numbers. Obviously, it's not happening. It's just not happening. But when she was asked about that clip that I've been playing for 2 days because I just found it so ignorant and stupid and arrogant, that clip of the NYU students berating Chelsea Clinton. And obviously, I'm not a Chelsea Clinton fan, but the woman has a right not to be berated for New Zealand. She's talking about that clip. She points out that this narrative is important institutionally to the left. It is important institutionally to the left, but it's just ridiculous. Here she is.
The left is so determined to try to paint America as a source of white supremacy, whereas in fact there is virtually no institutional support for these a handful of kooks that are insane. They are violating the very premises of Western civilization. But we are all on campus now. What happened at NYU is infiltrating the culture at large. More and more of the Democratic Party is adopting this poisonous identity politics that is determined to paint America as a bastion of white supremacy when that is not true.
So, insofar as there are white supremacists, and as Heather says, they are against everything that the West stands for, they really are. Insofar as what is the narrative that we're watching? What is it that gives them credence?